Oh, I'm delicious, Sammy.
You know what happened to Pig Boy, Lucas?
Is it just a perpetual wank job?
When the amazing thing we call life throws the horny switch.
Who of my friends is thinking about how toned and firm my butt is?
They liked the gay stuff.
Guy got pissed drunk. And when I say pissed drunk, like he pissed himself.
Everyone should just commit felonies. It's okay.
I do like homoerotic things.
There was some sexual tension there, and it was weird. All right, welcome to the last three brain cells. My name is Lucas, your little pig boy here, baking you up some fresh content.
Really? You're deciding to stick with Pig Boy?
Well, when you make a bad joke, there's one of two choices. You can either let it die and hope everyone forgets about it, or you can just double down.
Like, make it the core of your identity?
I didn't say that, but we'll see how successful it is. I believe that the difference between a bad joke and a quality running gag is just commitment. It's like relationships.
I thought you were going to say something after commitment, but I guess not. But hey, if you're going to double down on this Pig Boy stuff, man, that might almost make me consider going vegan, but that's just me.
Oh, I'm delicious, Sammy. All 0 Yelp reviews.
I'm right there with you. I think I just went vegetarian right now.
Oh man, yeah, broccoli's
Well,
great.
pigs are not vegetarians. They're actually brutal.
I think they're omnivores, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. See, we're on the same page.
I mean, in
We're on the same
Gone
page.
with the Wind, the reason they were so panicked when Dorothy fell into the pig pen is because pigs will just devour everything.
We are less than 5 minutes in, and we have already gone from pigs to Gone with the Wind. I'm impressed at this turnaround time.
I mean, the next logical step is Lord of the Flies.
And there is a pig boy in that as well.
We were talking
There is
about...
You know what happened to Pig Boy? You know what happened to Pig Boy, Lucas? You know what happened to Pig Boy?
He rocked that shit.
Oh,
wow.
that was rough. Okay, so we got Pig Boy over here.
Crowd.
I am...
Oh yeah, I'm with other people, apparently.
My name is Jeremiah. I'm along for the ride like every week. And who do we got on the other end of the table here?
Oh, my name's Sammy. I exist as a figment of whoever imagined this reality up.
And you are definitely not a pig boy.
I am definitely not a Pig Boy.
Who's the philosopher that said, "I think, therefore I am"? Not Billie Eilish, don't you
I'm
dare.
having trouble remembering. Is it Kant or is it Thoreau? Or
I
is
think
it
it was,
neither of those?
I think it was like
I want to say
Descartes
Kant.
or
Oh, Descartes.
Descartes. Because it was the guy who that quote comes from. He wanted to start out with the idea that what if everything was just all some work of some all-powerful demon who was just deceiving you by everything? And is there a way that you can work back from something that you know absolutely is true in order to disprove that possibility? And so the starting point that he came up with is I'm thinking, which means I must exist. And then he took some serious logical leaps to get through the rest.
Wow, you learn something new every day.
Interesting.
I took a philosophy class. I read Plato's Cave.
And in the Dungeons and Dragons world, beholders dream the world.
You know, Plato's Cave is the only thing you really need to know about philosophy. So
Really, Plato's Cave? That's like it. You can survive.
Plato's allegory of the cave. Yep. That's all you need to know about philosophy.
So there has been no progression, no evolution of thought since then.
Oh, there's been a lot, but you just don't need to care about anything else.
Is it just a perpetual wank job?
What about Freud?
Yes.
Have I ever told you guys about Freud and the eels?
I think you told us about this at dinner last week, but I don't think Sammy's heard about this. And this is genuinely good.
Freud and the eels.
Let me throw in a real quick point about Freud. This is just a little tidbit that has nothing to do with eels. Just something I find fascinating. Linguistically, Freud has only been translated into like 4 languages. English, French, German, and Japanese of all things. And Freud, it's really hard to translate him into certain Eastern European languages or Western European languages. Eastern, because there is a phrase and a grammatical structure where something that distinguishes between something being true and something being fictional. And because of the way Freud wrote, it's hard to know what is an allegory fictional and what is like straight up truth. So most languages around the world have just thrown up their hands and say, yeah, we're not even going to bother.
So linguistically, they were not prepared for anything remotely close to sarcasm.
I think
guess.
Jeremiah's just saying that their language is clearly inferior because it wasn't able to portray the complex and brilliant findings of Sigmund Freud.
Yeah, Sigmund Freud, like I said.
He never had a bad idea. He stared into the abyss, and the abyss stared back.
Okay, I think with that setup and knowing that craziness about Sigmund Freud, we're ready to learn about the
story,
eels.
man.
And their genitalia.
I learned about metaphors in like 3rd grade. Wait, what?
Okay, so Sammy,
that wasn't a metaphor.
It was no. That's literal. What this is about. Did you know?
Oh, okay. Wait.
One of the problems in science throughout history that they were constantly
we don't know how eels reproduce.
Yeah, where are their genitalia? This was a problem way back in like Roman Greek times. So I think
it's actually, we're going back a little bit before Plato. I want to say Aristotle.
I think it was Aristotle. It was one of those. I don't remember which one, but he was struggling with it, and his solution is clearly eels must just be what happens when water and mud mixes under the right conditions, and eels spring up. And that was the accepted scientific explanation for a long time.
Okay. But isn't it also a thing where we've never really observed eels reproducing? Ever?
Oh, it's coming. It's coming. Pun sort of intended. Anyway, so...
Oh, wow.
I'm just going to skip ahead.
How's that a good pun when we don't know if they have genitalia?
That's the point. I wasn't sure if it was a good pun or not. It's yet to be observed.
We were uncertain whether there was truth or fiction in his statement.
There's a law of uncertainty there. But skipping to Freud, before he did all his crazy stuff, he was obsessed with a different kind of genitalia. No one had been able to find eel genitalia before, and he was determined to be the first. So while he was still medical school, he took several weeks, and he spent all those weeks dissecting eels, desperately trying to find genitalia. He practically went mad by the end of this. He sent crazy letters to other people, venting his frustration with being unable to find eel genitalia. I think it's possible that the eels are what really broke him, and what got him onto genitalia, that and the cocaine, probably led to all of his stuff.
I don't know about the cocaine.
Yeah. And the thing that's crazy about eels is what scientists later discovered is that all these different eels that they assumed were different species were actually all part of the eel life cycle. And one of the reasons why he was never going to find eel genitalia is the eels that he was dissecting was, I think it was relatively early on.
Puberty yet.
Yeah, but it's still crazy because, so there's one area in the ocean. That's where all eels seemingly come from. It's a really weird ocean. It's the only ocean that's bordered on all sides by water. And it kind of forms this slow whirlpool where the waters around the edges kind of circle around. Now, we know these are where eels come from. However, in order to go from where freshwater eels would need to go to like lay eggs, which we think they grow genitalia when the time is right, when the mood strikes, if you will, go to this place, reproduce, and then leave. The problem is
Marvin Gaye and Get It On.
We've never seen that happen. I don't think we've even found an eel with genitalia, and we've never observed what would have to be thousands of miles of distance. We've never observed these eels making these giant treks or swims to where they would need to go in order for it to make sense.
Have we tried just putting eels in tanks and, setting the mood?
They don't reproduce.
Some mood lighting, some music.
Are you suggesting that we just put some eels in a tank, throw on, dim the lights, and throw on some Barry White?
That would probably work for me.
might also have to deal with like the temperature and the pH of the water, but I feel like with enough simulation, we could probably figure out the conditions it takes for the eels to, develop genitalia, reproduce, and then after which point their body probably says, "Hey, we're gonna not have genitalia anymore to save energy." Because like, I feel like I've been thinking about this the other day about how the fact that we as a species have evolved to this point is genuinely mind-boggling when you consider how much we as men can't get done when the amazing thing we call life throws the horny switch and our brains just shut down for the sake of trying to reproduce. So the fact that we got here with the amount of, leaps and distances we've gotten in between that's those switches being flipped and us being able to think of no other thing, I think already is a testament to human evolution. And the fact that this man Freud said, "Hey, I'm losing my mind because I can't figure out where this eel's balls are at." And then you just find out that he's been killing either baby or prepubescent eels. Like the fact that this man was killing, he was basically killing children. He's killing children of another species, just wondering where their balls were.
But they look weird.
Imagine aliens. Imagine aliens coming up to our planet or after human beings have long been extinct, and they're like, "Man, where are their balls? Where's their skin? I can't find it." Right? And it's balls. Balls. The secret to the universe is balls. And I bet you the eels like probably have some microscopic mutual / parasitic species that they use to simulate the effects and the role of genitalia, which is something that we have observed in the wild before amongst other species of fish, where they just have another species attached to them basically play the role of genitalia for whatever mutual or parasitic benefit. It happens, and then the eels might look and it's like, get off of me! I can't focus. I'm
Sammy,
trying to
you've
live
thrown
forever and
out
take
a
over the world.
lot of crazy stuff. I feel like Jeremiah and I need a chance to respond to some of that.
I just
Please go ahead.
After all of that, my hope, my dream, is that in our lifetime we actually get to see why and how eels reproduce, and Sammy can go, "I knew it. I called it 100 years ago." We can say, "Well, you also said like 3,000. You put forward 3,000 theories, so one of them had to be right."
Yeah.
Now, I was thinking when you were talking earlier, Sammy, because you got on talking about how basically sex drive, how much that messes up our potential as a species. And the thing that's kind of crazy is earlier today, I was thinking about asexuals. And I was considering the fact that you would imagine that asexuals are probably like the scariest people because they're not inhibited by any of that. Like, you cannot control an asexual. What are you going to, sway them with? Chocolate?
Oh, chocolate's a good cheese.
Yeah, but like we're so much easier to manipulate.
I don't know. Look,
I mean,
as much as I think of the horny switch being thrown on and somebody cannot get a task that is not very specific done, it seems that people with high functioning sex drives, like, they are the ones who tend to get the most done. I mean, legendary President JFK. There's thousands of stories of him hooking up, and that was after one term in the White House.
The White House wasn't white before his presidency.
Oh Lord, get out of here!
Oh no, it's been
had nothing to do with this.
It was sun bleached.
That was not the remodeling that Mrs. Clinton was looking forward to doing. Anyways, but I think there's on one side, I think, Lucas, to address your point, I feel like anybody who has a solid amount of like purpose and control within themselves is like they're pretty hard to bribe. You can bribe people with a lot of things outside of the horny switch. That being said, I think you also raise a good point in that like there comes a point where I feel like some of these people, their high functioning sex drive allows them to focus in on what they need to do, because it's just an obstacle in their I can't think of words today. It's an obstacle in their journey towards sex.
Are you suffering
and
from
once
the switch?
You have this,
I know Jeremiah is here, and I understand.
I mean, with that hair, you just look too long, and you might start having some problems focusing on whatever it is you're trying to.
This makes me think of that meme that's like, if he doesn't act gay with the homies, that motherfucker might actually be gay.
You know, it's crazy that I've never thought about these sorts of things before. In my world, in Jeremiah world, it's not a crossed thought. Like, if somebody says they're gay, I'm like, okay, and I've moved on with my day. I don't wonder about my friends. I'm not like, ooh, who of my friends is thinking about how toned and firm my buttocks are?
I wasn't until you said that.
Right. I just expect, like every other guy, for someone to slap my butt as I'm going onto the field and say, "Go get him, champ."
Well, you were did they do that in acrobats?
No, the acrobatic community.
They did that in Little League baseball.
Yeah, it's very different.
And now I can't look at my coaches.
Hey, I was a Little League champ.
Actually, I will tell you that all of the acrobats I knew, when somebody was working on something, they're very supportive of attaining a new skill, and then notice when somebody's body, like, oh man, you've been working on it for the last month. Holy crap, your delts are looking really good, or wow, your back is like real. It was very open, complimentary. I know that a lot of women I worked with ran into the same issue, and that women's clothing is not made for athletes. So they'd rip out of their shoulders. They wouldn't fit in their shoulders specifically. So they had to start looking for specialized clothing, or clothing that would be open on top.
It sounds like, with everyone complimenting, however, that was like a fairly like healthy, relatively environment. But like, now you have me thinking about all the Little League coaches who are smacking these little kids on the ass saying, "Get out there, good job." And I'm just like, now I'm wondering, were they like in their heads thinking about the differences and suppleness of these kids' butts? Because now that's a disturbing thought I just had.
I most certainly hope not. I mean, the coach for my Little League baseball was my dad, and I'm pretty sure he never slapped our butts. Well, not the kid. We got spanked as kids, but
that's a different.
I don't think he liked doing that.
That's different. Spanking and slapping are very, very different.
It's two different contexts. Yeah.
3, if you compare I feel like, child versus adult.
Well,
there should be no blurring between the two.
So it's like I really don't care a whole lot about certain things, but like part of me feels like coaches should not be slapping the asses of kids like fucking turnstiles to the subway, as they head off to the field to play a sport that their parents paid for them to do. But hey, that's just me, I guess.
I'd never played a sport as a child. I don't remember if we got into when I started doing all of my athletic career, which was much later than most people. But I cannot recall getting slapped on the butt. Even running cross country and doing track in high school, middle school, I don't remember anyone slapping my cheeks who was not a fellow athlete, who was not a peer.
Yeah.
I think it happened occasionally when I wrestled. Because I wrestled until high school. I stopped in high school because it wasn't my thing.
Yeah, I think one of my track coaches did that very, very rarely. Kind of just like, kick it into high gear type of passive. Just like, all right, whatever. But like, outside of like Little League baseball, I don't think I really saw that. Even when I played soccer in like middle school and stuff, other sports, like it was usually the other peers, the other athletes, the other students and everything.
Isn't that funny that it's such a big thing for sports media, or at least the portrayal of fictionalized sports media, the coach slapping the athletes on the butt, like, go get him, champ.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that stems from just deep learned Roman, like Spartans?
Strictly speaking, Spartans and Romans are very different.
Okay, yeah, sure. But I mean the Spartans specifically,
the camaraderie.
Both of them, they very much they liked the gay stuff.
Contextually for their cultures,
they thought homosexual sex was pure.
Kind of. I think that's a misrepresentation. Probably in a
That's what Wikipedia told me.
I think it's a misrepresentation in a positive light, because the relationship that they venerated was actually like a young man or somebody who was before manhood and an older man. And you were expected to take one of the roles, like a catching role when you were younger and a pitching role when you were older. But if you continued to enjoy that as you got into your older life, they would use Roman slurs about you. That was not a positive thing to continue to like the playing of catch into your older age.
I mean, it was also a different times in terms of how society worked and how relationships were viewed. Like, the average American, when we think of love, we kind of think of one or two versions. One being more like romantic and one being more lustful. But like back then, they had seven different versions that they called love. One was fraternal love, just like, oh, I love you, bro. Thank you, bro. Like they had like romantic love. They also had like, oh, I just like having you around. Like you're cool. And they also had like, no, I want to like paternal maternal love, like, oh, you are my child and I want to take care of you. So like I think part of it does come from like a different cultural context. That would be it wouldn't be fair to like judge it with our current eyes.
Right. I just want to make it very clear though that it wasn't like hey, bro, this is our purest form of love. Like maybe some parts. I don't know. There's a darker tinge to that. That was also like that was how you're supposed to network too.
I remember reading.
Interesting way to network.
I remember reading on Wikipedia something. I think it was a Spartan king was made fun of because apparently there was a beautiful boy and he wouldn't kiss the boy, and they're like, it's like the opposite of, what are you, gay? It's like, what are you, straight?
There was a practice in Greece where when you had a party, of course, you have your host who's mixing the wine. So some parties are very popular because it's a paste. The wine is a fermented paste and you mix it with water. And then you would have the beautiful boy part where everyone tried to bring the most beautiful boy. And everyone would take turns kissing the boys to see who was most beautiful. Greek and Roman is a little different. I am working my way through the mythology written by Stephen Fry right now, and he will occasionally just mention, oh yeah, here is Heracles' young boy who he just loves it. Like all he needs to do to propel the Argo forward is drink, eat, and have his boy assistant wipe his brow.
His boy toy.
Strictly speaking, yes.
Power of boners knows no bounds or limits.
I feel like I could have been the most beautiful boy if I was back in those times.
I feel like you have a good shot.
Yeah. You got nice cheekbones. Like that.
Aw. Well, talking about gay individuals, most of the compliments I've gotten are from gay men, not women. So I guess you could say I feel more beautiful around gay men than women.
So very topical. Last week, or was it the week before, the at the time of recording, the basketball championship has just wrapped up, and you were in Lawrence, Kansas. And I remember we wrapped up everything for the night for our typical meetings for this podcast. And we start getting texts talking about the very drunk man who's convinced he knew you, talked about somebody's brother and how pretty you were.
All that was true. So I was coming back. There was crazy traffic as I live relatively close to campus. And so I was pulling in to park behind my apartment and there's almost no parking. So I was going down, driving the long way, and I see this blonde college kid just clearly not having a good time. I think at that point he was like face down, like on his knees, like face into the gravel.
Face down, ass up.
He was on the phone having a very emotional conversation with someone. He came up to my car and like begged me for money for an Uber, like saying he would pay me back. I was like, I'm gonna go park and then we can figure out what's going on with you. And so I ended up having to circle back around and I parked. And then at first I couldn't find him because he had like moved location a little bit. But I found him. I was like, okay, you're clearly very drunk. My apartment's nearby. Why don't you just sit outside my apartment, wait for someone to come pick you up, and I can get you some water, and you can just sip some water while you wait. And so that's what we did. On the way back, he said, hey, can you hold my hand? And he's like, I'm very drunk. And so I was like, sure. Pretty sure he just wanted to hold my hand. And then...
I'm glad he could vocalize it, because I often find that I cannot vocalize that.
I'm not entirely, like, very drunk, or... Anyway, I'm...
About holding your hand.
Oh. You can hold my hand whenever you want, Jeremiah. You've just never asked. No, but in all seriousness, so we get back, I get him sat down, I get him some water. I've been on and off off his phone, talking to his friend who's coming to pick him up. She's, a ways out. And I'm just babysitting the super drunk guy. He has like nail polish on his fingers. He's very obviously a drunk gay college kid. And he was a nice enough guy, but drunk people are hard to control. He kept telling me he loved me because I was just the nicest person. He called me Angel multiple times because I was helping him out.
I like Angel better than Pig Boy. Just gonna put it out there.
I also like Angel better than Pig Boy.
When pigs fly. And... got him. So he's doing all these things, and then he takes out his phone, he starts Snapchatting people. Also, he mistakes me for someone else, like someone he knew brother, someone who worked at a restaurant that he worked at or I think he's still working at as a surfer, and he went on an emotional spiel about how I deserve better. Because apparently who he thought I was got fired or demoted to just a server. He's like, you deserve so much better. That explains
why he said I loved you so quickly.
Well, yes and no. To the point where he started Snapchatting, and he started Snapchatting this guy saying, hey, I'm with your brother, Snapchatting with me in the Snapchat, just kind of looking at him. He's like, your brother said not to do this and just wait till the morning, but I decided to do it now. Hey, I'm with your brother. He's an angel. He deserves the best. Super drunk the whole time. And all that stuff. And then he posted a Snapchat. I was like, this is going to be a fun story tomorrow when he wakes up, sees the Snapchat, his friends I don't know who the fuck that was. Well, it wasn't my brother.
That's hilarious.
But eventually his friend comes, picks him up. She was hot. That's not relevant to the story, but I thought I'd mention it.
I think it's relevant to the entire conversation here today.
I agree, yes.
Well, regardless, when he sees her pulled up around the corner, he goes running off. I should have predicted it. I didn't grab him in time. He ran out in the middle of the street. Luckily, did not get hit by a car.
Oh, thank goodness.
Had to yell him back to the vehicle and get him in. And then he hugged me through the window. I can't remember. I think he tried to kiss me on the cheek. I don't know. I don't really remember.
Here's my follow-ups.
He told me I was cute.
One, a statement. You were lucky that as drunk as this individual sounded, they were not pulling their clothes off naked, because drunk people try to get naked all the time. I don't know what it is. They always are trying to get naked.
Something about the alcohol. It just makes you really hot, and next thing you know, you just gotta take it off.
Right.
If he would start doing that stuff, I would have just left him.
Well, I mean,
I would have left him fend for himself at that point. I was always kind of okay, buddy, let's
He's not. I'm not trying to say he's trying to hook up with you. There are many people who get drunk and they get naked, especially if it's tequila. Tequila is colloquially known as clothing repellent.
Oh. Well, there you go. You have your stripper drunks, you have your horny drunks, you have your sad drunks, you have your naked drunks, your solo drunks.
Well, apparently he was supposed to go out drinking with his friends after the game, which is when this was, but he pre-gamed really hard, and his friends just left him.
Fair.
To go out because he was too drunk. And it's what kind of friends do you have that none of them were let's get you home and then go drink?
Here's my second follow-up now. Oh, go ahead, Sammy. Go ahead.
Go for it. I was gonna say that maybe if the friends are used to this type of behavior, that's probably why they're like, yeah, we're just gonna leave him at home because I one of the weddings I went to recently, some guy got pissed drunk, and when I say pissed drunk, like he pissed himself. So that's
Ooh,
situations like that is when you're like, yeah, probably just would have rather have left him at home so that he doesn't embarrass himself in front of other people and stuff like that.
that,
No, but
that
they
is
wouldn't even like help him back to his home because he was. I think he was at the game.
If
maybe?
I had
I
left
don't know.
my friend who was already too drunk and saying, "You are too drunk, you need to remain in your house," and you go out anyway, and then you start calling me saying, "I didn't listen to you, and now I'm out, and I need you to bring me home." Well, in my heart, I would probably go find them, but I would be like, "Ugh, I told you this would happen." Jeez.
Yeah.
Based on
Especially if they're in college and they're talking to a hot girl and they want to talk to the hot girl instead of save their friend. Yeah, some people make different choices.
well, I mean, again, he's drunk, so not a reliable narrator. But I got the impression that he met up with his friends, but they left him because he was too drunk.
Well,
In which case, they just left him where he was, and no one in that group took on the responsibility of getting your drunk friend back home.
well,
taken
here's our
care of.
moral message of the day: get your drunk friends home, even if you have to call an Uber,
Get your
and then
drunk
it's the
friends
Uber's
home.
problem.
And in general,
Get your drunk friends home.
don't drink more than like 1 or 2 beers unless you're with people that you trust to take care of you if you mess up and end up drinking more than you should.
That's sound life advice.
Mhm.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on to my second
'Cause
statement
they don't
here,
sound like good friends.
which is,
Yeah.
Lucas,
Yep.
you would be the smoothest guy I know if you had said to this hot girl who picked him up, "Hey, I met him out here, want to make sure he gets home drunk. Can I get your phone number so that, like, can you text me? Here's my phone number. So when he's home safe, you can let me know." It would bring me a lot of peace of mind.
I thought about it.
Oh, bro, but you got
I didn't do it because it was such kind of a disaster, and it's clear she was just wanting to get out of there. So, and it did,
And it's
and
priority straight.
I felt like it would cheapen the good deed if I was like, "Hey, can I get your number?"
Whoa! I didn't say it like that. I said,
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but that's the sentiment. That's how I was worried she would take it.
you know what? I think
Granted,
famous.
it's also 2022.
Hey,
So, like, she could have been like, why do you need my number to check on this dude? And then that could have turned into something.
oh, then you said he's so drunk he won't give me his phone number. He's not cognitive. Look, the point is, I think that all-time best hockey player ever, Wayne Gretzky, said it best when he said, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take."
But you shouldn't also necessarily take all the shots you could take.
I stand with that.
That's fair. Look, I feel like you're painting me as the bad guy here. I don't think there's a problem with trying.
You're
not.
just
Not at
trying
all.
to be the bro, like, dude, you should have got some.
I didn't say, dude, you should have got some.
Dude,
Look,
you should talk to
because
me.
the way that I view the situation is
She seemed like the nice, responsible friend.
you follow through, you find out, hey, he got home safe, and then the next day you send a text and say, hey, is he still doing all right? And if you never hear anything back, that's fine. You never hear anything back. You can follow up on a person, you make sure they're doing okay, and who knows, that might turn into a lifelong friendship. I've had many friendships that have turned out
And his guardian angel.
by goofy, weird one-offs like that.
I mean, one of my friends in college was because I saw her just sitting outside the building and I was going on a walk and I ended up looping back around. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try talking to this person. And I talked to her for several hours. Funny thing is, at one point, she invited me to come hang out at her place. And the thing is, I had laundry in the washer that had been there for quite a while. And so I went and took care of that instead.
You didn't take care of that and then go meet up?
No.
Damn.
Okay, well, it's already done, so
Yeah,
I got no comment
This
on
man
that.
has his priorities straight.
No, but
This is a man who understands priorities.
she told me like much later on that she thought that was so funny that she invited someone over to hang out, a boy over to hang out at her place. He's like, nah, I gotta go take care of laundry.
You know what? It probably, truth be told,
This man's
probably
priorities. priorities.
It probably set you up to be good friends forever on, because she's like, a guy who's got his priorities on straight enough.
Thirsty.
Yeah, it was kind of a friendship where it was always kind of almost on the verge of being a relationship, but not really. There were definitely points, like, I remember one time we went out to eat somewhere, and there's very much the question of, like, is this a date? And I was poor. I didn't pay for a
college,
meal.
Lucas. We know the struggle.
I'm sorry, I didn't. I was not thinking Lucas, it was a date. I didn't want to make it a date.
I like how that's the opposite end of, have you ever been on a date with someone because you were hungry?
That's happened to me before. But the golden rule, and this works no matter what you want to say, no matter what high horse you're sitting on, the universal truth that we all know. If it's a heterosexual duo of one guy or one dude, one lady, whatever. If the girl thinks it's a date, it's a date. If the girl does not think it's a date, it's not a date. Now, this can be changed retroactively. But if she does not think it's a date, it is not a date.
I don't know. I think you're kind of taking out the guy's agency in the matter.
I think that's the point of the theory. I think we're going to have to test this theory.
That's the point of the theory. Because there have been times where, like, you as a dude, you didn't set that precedent. And I feel like a lot of people can attest to this. It's like, yeah, you went out with this person, you had a great day, and she was like, wow, I'm so happy to have a friend like you. And you're like, wait, what? or like, for example, like, I had a situation where I went out with a friend and we had food, we had a good day, and I paid for dinner just because, like, you know, even with like some of my guy friends, like, sometimes we take turns, like, paying for dinner, whatever. And I thought at that point in time that we were just friends. And then 2-3 months later, she was like, oh, I thought that was a date. And I was like, guess it was a date. Like, that's just what it was. And and it's funny because at first, like, when everyone was like, hey, like, where you been? What happened? I told them, they're like, oh yeah, you were just hanging out with that girl. Yeah, cool. The second she said, oh, I thought that was a date, everyone's like, nope, that was a date. That was a date. You can hang out with girls and have it not be a date. If she thinks it's a date, it's a date. That's it. Sorry. I don't make up the rules. I just try to explain it sometimes.
It's like South Park. I don't make the rules. I just think them up and write them down.
Fair. Okay. Well, gentlemen, we've all got a very special question to answer tonight. I want to make sure that we've got enough time.
I forgot about this. Let's go.
So here,
I'm so ready for this question.
The last 3 brain cells, as we've developed this and we've talked about what this podcast is about, it really comes back to answering ridiculous questions. So, the question for this evening is, what is your perfect heist?
I know for a fact that my perfect heist is nothing like anything you guys thought up, so I do not want to go first.
All right, Lucas, it's on you.
Does it involve turtles?
No.
Oh, neither does mine.
It involves laser sharks.
Oh, that's better. But should I go first, or I'm kind of curious about the laser sharks?
No. Lucas, you go first.
Okay. So there was a few things. The problem is my mindset is less of a traditional heist where it's like, I'm going to steal something of value, like a diamond or money from a vault. Because in nowadays world, it's really hard to actually profit off that stuff. Between everything, including like the IRS, scary organization. So
ways to get around
what I was thinking is, you guys know vanilla extract?
Yes.
You know how much more expensive the real stuff is than the synthetically made in the lab?
Well, isn't vanilla itself the stem of an orchid that blooms for 2 or 3 weeks out of a year?
I don't know that. I know that the chemical that's responsible for the primary taste that we associate with vanilla is vanillin, is the name of the chemical. And that's expensive. It's hard to make. It's mostly made near the equator. Like, a lot of it comes from Mexico, for example. I'm bringing up Mexico because that's part of my heist.
Some of it comes from Canada, and I'm not going to explain it here because you got to get through your heist, but you people can look up how beavers are related to vanilla. Yeah, let's not get into that now.
I know what you're talking about. I've heard about this.
Beavers.
But
yeah, no, it's better. We're not going to talk about it now because Lou's got to get through his heist. But
it relates.
It's related
too much back to the cocaine bears from last podcast.
All right, so let's get going.
Okay, well, okay, that totally
Beavers,
derailed me. Too many potential sexual innuendos in the past little bit. Okay, so back to vanilla.
Got a whole story.
Vanilla. Vanilla's a lot more expensive when it's natural, but it's a lot easier. Granted, the process is more dangerous, but as long as you have a properly furnished lab, you can make vanilla extract. The primary difference...
It's like fake boobs.
The primary difference is vanilla naturally does have some health benefits, relatively minor health benefits, but it does have some over just the made in a lab. The other thing is some people think that there's a taste difference. What I would do is the vanilla extract industry is worth over 500 million, and a lot of it comes from Mexico. So what I'm thinking is you could very easily fake from having a small farming setup for farming natural vanilla and then have your actual main production be in lab space. You could very easily fake that, grease some palms, and by diluting your vanillin substantially, no one would be able to tell the difference. Also, you could establish as a precedent enough variation in the other stuff besides the actual vanillin that since it's not harming anyone, you're not transporting narcotics, you're transporting just vanillin, the most commonly used flavoring in baking, you could easily make well over 100 million in profits by doing so. And I feel like this is probably something that's already done, at least to some extent. Because it's easy to convince people it's okay because you're not actually hurting anyone. It's just some people are like, ooh, my pure vanilla extract's better. It's like confirmation bias will take care of almost all of that. And so you're not harming anyone, but it's a substantial industry. There's potential to make a lot of money. And it's based out of country Mexico, where historically, it's easier to kind of have those sorts of arrangements as long as everybody's making money through it. And I don't think it'd be that hard to get it validated through customs after looking at the customs requirements.
Interesting. So
I really like your heist because I feel like it's pretty realistic and a lot more doable than some other things.
So after hearing that whole thing, I believe that that's not a heist. I think that's a scam. It's an important distinction.
A scam? Well, the perfect heist is they never knew it happened. And so this is something where realistically, this could be happening right now. And I feel like there's enough incentives that I'd be kind of surprised if this isn't happening on some level.
Well, I think it's a great thing that most people won't find out about, and it probably is happening. And I agree there. I believe a heist needs an object to be stolen.
Oh,
I feel like with a heist, there's a definitive
this
end,
might
because with a scam, you can keep it going, you know?
What about this? I had a second thought. So my thought for the heist is you're stealing a lot of money from a lot of people. The thing is, they don't realize they're being screwed, and this is the reason why. So I guess it is kind of a scam, but whatever. What you do is you create businesses that focus on helping people file taxes. Then you spend millions of dollars lobbying Congress to make taxes very confusing and to prevent taxes from being simplified, so that everyday people need your help, need to use your software, need to ask for your advice. Otherwise, they risk committing a felony without even realizing it. Oh, wait. That is a thing. That's TurboTax and H&R Block.
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. I think that, again, scam. Put a scam.
Scam.
But heists... I'm having trouble thinking of how you guys are going to actually have heists that are profitable in the day. I guess maybe with cryptocurrency BS, you could hide stuff.
I had trouble coming up with what I would see as a perfect heist, and most of this comes down to I spent a lot of time reading and developing heists for Dungeons and Dragons. So I can't think of them like a normal person would. I begin with the score and work my way backwards. And instead,
I like this.
I have my perfect pieces to a heist, such as
okay.
you always need to have information gathering that requires technical knowledge. There needs to be some kind of security system that's either breakable or, better yet, impenetrable that you need to find need to find a way around. There needs to be a debonair, suave aspect, maybe going to a party and schmoozing where you either sleight of hand steal a key or you pull a honeypot where you seduce someone and then steal a necessary piece of information. I believe a heist needs an acrobatic component. It doesn't necessarily need to be acrobatics in terms of flipping and whatnot, but scaling a building or Tom Cruise descending in Mission Impossible into the bank vault, you need an aspect like that. There needs to be an uncomfortable physical aspect. And then a chase of some kind. Working against time. So I think of this in terms of pieces, but not necessarily in terms of a full heist. I probably ran like 7 of these sort of D&D adventures, and they're all very loose because I wait for players to think of what they are, the pieces or how they're going to solve these problems. It's all movie inspired anyway.
All the stuff you mentioned, though, that's just a dinner party. Right. Gathering intel, dancing... physical challenge there.
Correct. It should be, there should be a big dinner party aspect. In fact, I think one of the lamest heists you can watch is the original Ocean's 11. It's probably the most realistic heist, and it's the lamest. I want the remake Ocean's 11 with Brad Pitt, George Clooney. I want Logan Lucky, or my favorite goofy heist of all time, The Maiden Heist, a movie of which I assume neither of you has even heard of.
I've heard of Maidens. I played Elden Ring.
It's not that. The Maiden Heist, which I'll make the quick plug, is a movie that was made at the tail end of the 2000s, so before 2010. It has Christopher Walken. Oh, who's the voice of God? Morgan Freeman. And a whole bunch, he is. And a bunch of other great actors. William H. Macy, I believe, is in it. And Christopher Walken is an elderly security guard at a museum who has a favorite piece that is of a maiden that he looks at all the time. He guards the piece, and he finds out that the museum is trading the piece away. So his goal is to steal the piece. It's a really fun movie. It's a heist gone wrong in the best way possible. And it's good for Christopher Walken and Morgan Freeman in it. So in terms of a heist that is not that technical, that goes incorrect, I think but it has all those pieces. Gathering the intel, finding the right...
a lot of fun.
You have to put together a team. I think that's an important part. Together a team.
Now I'm just
that's
thinking...
the most fun part about a heist is putting the team together.
Right. Heist needs that... Really, the 2 core components. Well, I listed a whole bunch of fun stuff. The 2 core components are what's your score and what's the perfect team you need to put it together. Why do you need Bernie Mac to go count cards for you?
Okay, so 2 things. Actually... You know what? Let's go with 3.
3 things.
All right. So first thing, that just makes me think of the Rick and Morty episode on heist shows. That the whole point of it is just saying heist movies are stupid. Spoiler? I don't think that's a spoiler. But it is a entertaining movie. Just kind of making fun of the tropes, or not movie, show.
Episode, yeah.
2. I've forgotten what 2 was. So I'm going to worry about that later and move on to 3.
I feel like that's a meme.
Don't think it was a meme.
Make profit. All right, go on to 3.
Okay. All right, I see. Yeah. And then the third thing, I just wanted to say to you, Jeremiah, that I'm impressed. I set out to scam all these people with vanillin, but you scammed all of us without an actual answer.
Right. As I thought about it, it's so split up. It's so situational. Kind of like how you were talking about too. It's so hard to steal art or diamond or whatever that you would heist, bank robbery. There's a great series, I think it's done by GQ, where they interview former criminals and XYZ. And I just remember them interviewing a former criminal who, when they are an art thief, they said, well, how do you determine what you want? They say, well, some will be connected with a private investor, however you want to put it, somebody who's got a lot of money who says, hey, I will pay you 400 million for this piece, or a couple $100 million. And you go do the heist, and that piece is never going to see the light of day again. It's going to be in a private collection somewhere.
That's interesting.
There are ways to get around that through taxes and all those things.
Yeah, so there are still art thefts, and there are still... It's not going to be the Mona Lisa, which, fun fact, the Mona Lisa is only so famous because it was stolen. It was part of a heist, and when it was returned, it became the most popular piece. But...
That's kind of like how It's a Wonderful Life became such a popular movie.
There's no way, because I was thinking of the same thing.
Oh, because they forgot to renew the copyright, and so stations were able to play it without having to pay royalties.
Well,
and so they started playing it all the time.
It wasn't
and it became a classic.
It wasn't just that. The movie itself, It's a Wonderful Life, was not a popular movie in its time.
Mm-hmm.
And when television became a thing and you would syndicate movies or whatever else, the syndication fees, even when it started, was so low that everybody could afford it very cheaply. So a whole generation grew up of watching this movie thinking it was a classic, when really it was just so unnoteworthy that it was cheap. And now it is an important part of our culture.
I mean, it's a good movie. I don't know I would say it's my favorite movie anymore, but there was a period of time where it was my favorite movie.
Okay. But we got the big grand finale now.
I need my laser sharks. This is fundamental to my mental health.
So I wasn't trying to plan the perfect heist. I was trying to plan the ultimate heist.
Ooh.
So there are so many things that you could add to this to make it more complicated and fun. But here are the bare bones, right? First, you get into real estate. Not the hardest thing to do. It's one of those things where it's tough to learn, but once you're in there, you're in there. It's just hard to get really good to the point where you're selling like $1 million real estate, whatever. But that's how you start. You get into real estate, blah, blah, blah. Now, you have to find the right location. I think similar to what we were talking about before, the important thing about a heist is you have to find the right thing to heist. If it's too popular, you're on everybody's radar and it's just ridiculous difficulty. It has to be popular enough that, everyone recognizes that it's high value, but not so popular enough that like, oh, if it went missing or whatever, they'd do search parties and international whatever. And it would like it has to be something that wouldn't be in the news for like more than like a week or two or whatever, right? So here's what I would do. I would find a really good remote island, and what I would do is I'd find a way to sell that island to a very rich oligarch person, right? This is why you need a team. You need to have like your grifter, your seller, your real estate person, right? So I sell this island. Well, after investing enough money in it that like, you have like your moat, you have your shark pit, everything, right? The classic supervillain island. They had like an episode similar to this on a really great show called Inside Job. But you're selling this really lavish, amazing real estate on a private island, right? You got sharks with lasers, everything, right? So here's what you do. All the things that make this island super cool and super villainy and everything, they serve a dual function. And one of the dual functions is that the laser attached to the sharks that allows the sharks to shoot lasers, right? I'm thinking it'd be like some type of remote control thing, like a video game. Someone's trying to infiltrate your island and you just hop on the console and you just do pew pew and it just remotely shoots lasers to wherever the sharks are swimming, whatever. But one of the receivers on the shark's laser apparatus is also connected to the network. You see, you're on a private island, so unless you have like a satellite phone or something, you're not really going to get reception, right? So in this private island that you've invested in to be all amazing and everything, you've added your own network, right? With its own VPN. Then you sell this island with the laser sharks, with the, I don't know, fire-breathing crocodiles, whatever. Sell it to the rich oligarchs, and you make it so great that he has to tell all his friends. He has to invite everybody else to flex on this island, right? So you kind of whisper in his ear a little bit. He's throwing all these obscene, amazing parties with all these lavish rich people, some of them getting up to no good, right? And the receiver in the sharks, as well as other things, what it does is all the data that gets transmitted with the worldwide internet, that information gets copied and stored somewhere offshore that they'll never know about, never be able to trace. You're the IT guy who set everything up. They don't need an IT guy. And if they do have an IT guy, you have so many firewalls and bricks and stuff that there's no point. It's like, hey, it works. You don't need anything else. And then when you ask them, like, oh, it looks like if someone was smart enough that they hired somebody who was smart enough to be like, oh, where's all this data going? You just be like, oh no, it goes to like a private server that gets deleted every 10 minutes just so that, security, no one can hack through your fingerprint, whatever. So you run this thing for a solid couple of years. So you, in this couple of years, you are now cataloging a long list of blackmail material based off of the texts and the emails and everything that's being transmitted over data, right? Because you of course you got the rich oligarch, and they always know people who are doing things or they're doing things themselves, right? So you don't reveal this stuff for a solid 10, 15 years because they bought your island, dude. Like that's real estate, that's money in your pocket, right? After a certain amount of time, you get into contact with like the FBI or something, and you're like, hey, I got this blackmail that you would just love to have, right? And maybe you whisper in their ear a little bit, just like, hey, by the way, guess my IT guy fucked up. He already got assassinated, but I got this list of blackmail. And then you play both sides for a ransom. And eventually the person's like, yeah, fuck this. All of my data is getting leaked as long as I'm here. So eventually they leave. And once you've made all this money, you can put it towards, philanthropies and hedge funds. You do enough legitimate business with it that like no one can really think you're sketchy unless they try to look at where the money came from. Maybe you have a little few sketchy things here and there. It's really easy to avoid taxes. Everyone should do it. Well, not avoid taxes, but legally pay less taxes than you should. Everyone should pay their taxes, but everyone should also find the ways to pay less taxes than they should.
Everyone should just commit felonies. It's okay.
Right. Legal loopholes aren't felonies.
Everyone needs to be
legal loopholes are not felonies.
Yoshi commits tax fraud, so should you.
We need to talk about that later.
Okay.
But, end of the heist, you just rent out the island as like an Airbnb, which is something that people actually currently do. They rent out private islands as some type of Airbnb type stuff. So now you're making even more money. And the heist is, you got away with the blackmail.
Okay, you're getting here's an important question. Would you still be doing the wireless recordings or however you're doing it when it's an Airbnb? Because I think that would be low return, and since that is illegal, that could be a way that once you're playing this game of cat and mouse, that the feds would bust you and hold leverage over you to get the rest of the stuff. Without having to...
I think once you turn it into like an Airbnb or something where you're using another entity and you have to play by different rules internationally and stuff, that's when you have to go straight clean. And by that point, if you're turning it into an Airbnb, people don't feel safe with laser shooting sharks in their homes. Like you'd have to repurpose.
I think that's a feature. That's a draw. Hey, come check out this supervillain lair. It's still got the sharks with the lasers. The upkeep on them can't be that crazy.
Yeah, so... It'd be I definitely have to redo things. And also, like, by the time the FBI knows, you'd have to definitely dismantle a few things. So they couldn't just infiltrate your island and try to copy the whatever. It's like, no, by the time you get them involved, you'd have to have everything relatively shut down. So it's like, all right, here's the thing that you can't access, that you can't repeat, that you can't try to heist your way into.
It would be the CIA, not the FBI, right? Because they're international and FBI is domestic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
be the CIA.
They don't have reach anyway, depending on where this private island is. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we're the United States.
I was thinking
I mean,
Southeast Asia.
To some extent, we kind of have reach everywhere, except like China and Russia.
Oh, look at how long it took to get that one guy. Who was the... Oh, why am I blanking on this right now?
Are you talking about Osama bin Laden?
No, we got him.
We're talking about the guy from the middle, who was in the Middle East.
Nope, not the Middle East. He was the Swiss guy who was the whistleblower who did the. Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. He lived in the
Whistleblower on.
He lived in the Ecuadorian embassy for 10 years.
Is it like
Oh.
Snowden?
Not Snowden. No,
I don't know what he did. I just heard his name.
Man, why am I having so much trouble with this? No, he did have the website where they were putting up all sorts of like back end deals and whatnot. I am blanking hard on what the website is even called.
Barack Obama.
Blankety blank blank.
Blankety blank 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 blank.
Damn.
That was a joke, but
Blank blank. That's right, Lucas.
Look, I think
I'm just a thirsty little hamster. I regret saying that immediately.
Big boy hamster named Angel.
I
well,
preferred hamster.
Angelic pig boy ham.
So I think people
Hamster, ham, pig. The joke's elevating. It's got wings.
So look, I think we did an okay job with the heists, but anybody listening to this, they need to send in their perfect heist. Because I think this is something we need to return to. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's going to better out heist us.
They're going to create a heist on how they managed to usurp each of our heists.
That would
do
be great.
something
I would
better.
love that.
Have someone find a way to steal the presidency without replacing the real president with the robot.
I mean, isn't that just Trump, though? He just came
I
in and
honestly
out.
think he had a pretty.
I would say left field, but it was right field.
Easy time.
And
I
no one
honestly
liked
don't think
him.
he had a hard time stealing it.
But he took the election still. I mean,
I think if you take a good look at the socio-political climate when he was elected, you would have not been surprised that any non-politician had a solid chance of becoming president.
Yeah, I just think if
non-career politician, I would say.
If it was almost any Democrat but Hillary Clinton, I think the Democrats would have won. But this is kind of we've gotten a bit political.
Yeah, screw that.
Yeah, long a ways ago political. Weirdly topical though, as wasn't it Trump who was like, "Hey, learn how to loophole the legal system too."
Yep.
Or tax system. Yep. It's a very specific tax system. I don't know if he said legal system.
Very specific.
Think like a rich
loophole
person.
The tax system, not the legal system.
That's like that reminds me of Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's a really famous speech he gave where he said, "Break the rules, be a rule breaker. Don't break the law, but break the rules." he had the foresight to think about it in that moment to be like, wait a second, I'm not saying break the law, but break the rules.
Yeah. I think the vast majority of the time, the rules should be followed. I think there is a very, very extremely minute set of situations where it's like, find a loophole in the legal system because you found yourself in a very cinematically compromising position where it is against you for no concrete good reason. But that's a whole different other conversation.
Well,
keyword in there was cinematic.
If you listen to Captain Barbosa, aren't taxes just more of guidelines than actual rules? Presumably, unless you're rich, it's not worth the IRS's time to come after you. But the problem is if you are ever rich, which ideally you want to become rich, then you have to deal with the fact that you weren't paying taxes.
Oh, you're going to get audited by the IRS if you're rich. Like, even if everything checks out.
It depends on what level you
also
hit.
Pay people in the IRS to, like, audit you without fucking up your shit so you can fix your... so that you can fix your stuff before any serious consequences befall you.
I feel like that's getting dangerously close to bribing a federal agent.
I mean, a lot of different companies do it, but there comes a point where it's not. You're not bribing if you have a person who's very experienced and knowledgeable about all these laws and codes and stuff, and you now hire that person as an individual entity to help you, like a TurboTax or H&R Block, so that you can do things in a way that is legal, so that you are still paying your taxes, even though you might be paying less taxes because you're manipulating different statutes and loopholes and stuff. Even if the IRS comes at you to audit you, you can still say, hey, give me some time to fix things, right? And that is something that our IRS does do, where it's like, let's say you filed your taxes this year and then you file your taxes next year, and then 2 years from now they're like, hey, the taxes you filed 2, 3, 4 years ago, there is a discrepancy here. You either have this much time to fix it, or then we're going to do ridiculous action. And a lot of those times it's like, all right, just get yourself a really good lawyer and a really good person who knows a way around that. And there are ways for that to be resolved without, IRS every single item.
You know, this reminds me, I recently found out that over 285,000 corporations and large businesses have a tax address in Delaware. A whole bunch of corporations share the same physical building address as a corporate tax haven or tax loophole.
Well, yeah, you can buy, there's addresses for probably almost any state.
I don't know why
that you can just buy.
I don't know why this one specifically. There must be something with the local municipality or Delaware in general that makes this one special, but all the corporations do it. Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Walmart.
Does Delaware have low state taxes?
You'd have to look up why this specific address, but I believe it's to a corporate firm, a corporate tax firm.
Yeah, because there are a bunch, like, you know, Tennessee doesn't have any income tax, but, you know, you end up making up some of that tax money elsewhere. And, you know, taxes, there's a whole litany and array, plethora, I want to say, of charts that show which states are better for which taxes and all those things, so you can coordinate your efforts based off of what your goal is and how you want to do your taxes.
Right.
Choose your taxes.
Right. And some states make it so you can't pump your own gas.
Hey, Jersey. Don't know why that's a thing, but hey, it creates jobs.
Right. Well, guys, I think we've done what we set out to do tonight. We've talked a lot about eels.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, we went from eel genitalia to some other stuff. Just skip a few. We talked about the heist.
Lucas's stories with his
We
new
talked
friend.
about gay things. So that's
Man,
happy day.
I feel like that word is just thrown around so much. It's like, man, that's gay or that's gay. It's like, we need to find a better word. Because now you have people actually saying like, oh, if a guy eats popcorn on a movie date, he's gay. And it's like,
wait, what?
You can't even have popcorn on movie dates now? What?
Oh.
Is it because you get stuff stuck in your teeth?
I heard a story. This was a story that came off of Instagram or Twitter, but it was a young lady who was like, oh, I don't know about the rest of you, but as far as I'm concerned, if a guy takes you on a dinner date and he orders dessert, he's not a real man or he's gay. And it's like, man, we can't
look. I'll take
chocolate is gay. Apparently,
look. I will take. Call me gay, but I take bubble baths.
Will do.
I have dessert it said bubble baths. I don't care. Like, that's part of enjoying my life.
Amen. Yes,
I did
sir.
a Z snap. Nobody.
This is a very arbitrary activity that has nothing to do with your sexuality.
Right.
Like, we need to find a better word.
Okay, but the problem is that's going to run into the same problem that every controversial word runs into, where if you come up with a new word for it, that's just going to become the replacement for saying, oh, that's so gay.
It's interesting.
It's just like, oh, that's so special. Oh, that's so rainbow.
I am a little bit outside of the demographic that you both are. I'm a little older. And I remember growing up where probably 5th, 6th grade up through high school, calling something gay was insulting or effeminate, however you want to put it. And I remember probably 2009, 2010, where that was addressed culturally and just watching that term be scaled back. Even working with kids the last 7 years, and specifically middle schoolers, because wherever you're at, I think we can all agree middle schoolers are the worst. They really
no qualifiers, just
everything. But using gay in a derogatory way has reduced. I'm sure it's still done. I don't know what the current modern term to use is. I'm not 15
Well, when they say
anymore.
that's so gay nowadays, they're just saying that's stupid or dumb, not really.
Which is
in that the derogatory sense.
Which still to me that's still derogatory, because I did the same thing growing up, but watching the amount that it's used be pulled back. I mean, now when I hear that's so gay, the first thing I think of is like, oh, did Lil Nas X drop another dope song? I don't judge me for that. That's just what I do.
I'm sorry, but that comment was pretty gay. Like,
yeah, because it involves Lil Nas X dropping a dope song. But that's what I think of if somebody were to be like, "Man, that's so gay." I'd think like that's my.
You don't think of something that's offensive. You think of something that pertains to something definition based.
I think we should keep the sentiment, but just replace gay with homoerotic. Like, that's so homoerotic, bro.
I do like homoerotic things. Go watch The Lighthouse with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. It's great.
I don't think
it's not for most people.
Jeremiah,
let me just tell you that right now. It's weird.
I've heard about how that's homoerotic. Have you?
Yeah,
I can't remember if you have, Jeremiah, but I think Sammy has Death Note, the anime.
Okay, what about Death Note, the anime?
There's one scene, because the whole show is about a cat and mouse game between Light, who's using this notebook that whenever he writes someone's name in, it kills them, and he can write how they die and when. And a super smart detective that's just known as L, who's hunting him.
It's a really great show, at least the first half. The show's broken up into 2 parts, and the first section of the show is very good.
I agree. First part of the show is very good, and then the second half is not as good. When you watch it, you'll understand why. But around about half point time, there's one scene between Light and L that's weirdly homoerotic. It's like a thing that's discussed about in discussion boards is why was it? Because most of the evidence supporting the idea that what if they were kind of into each other romantically or sexually pretty much is that scene. There was homoerotic washing of feet. I think it was supposed to be an allegory to religious stuff, but it was just... There was some sexual tension there, and it was weird. Because the characters are... Besides that, they're very clearly both asexual.
Yeah, they really are. L definitely. He is definitely... He is like...
I can see that.
Kind of like Sherlock Holmes.
Light has to be asexual. If you had a chick like that into you as much as in that show, there's no man who's straight that would behave the way he did.
To tie this up... there are a couple. Very circularly, to bring the circle full circle, man knew his priorities.
Man knew his priorities.
And his priority was to kill a whole bunch of people who he thought shouldn't be on the earth and then get away with it. Like a heist. That's the perfect heist. Badly. Death Note's the perfect heist.
We've tied everything together. Yes. The only thing that this conclusion is missing is we just need to tie in eels and genitalia. And the fact that eels don't have
the
sex.
Circles look like...
Light Yagami.
There you go.
Is a human eel.
Man,
he clearly has no testicles
when you tried to go for that one.
And that's why he was as good as what he was going to do.
Did you say I shot myself in the heel?
Yes, I said he shot himself in the heel trying to tie that all together.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a sign-off moment. We tied it all together. And when we finally have an answer to why eels and how they reproduce, we'll have to circle back to this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Circle back.
I feel like I should say something closing statement.
All right, Angel Pig Boy, take us away.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to try and do this with the mic. I'm not sure how well it'll work, but... It was a flying pig flying by the mic and then flying off into the sunset.
The worst part was the hand puppet part.
I did do a bird hand puppet. Okay. I should have made it fat because it was like a pig. It should have had trouble getting off the ground. It should have been like...
I'm seriously considering going vegan because of this.
And Sammy went vegan.
I don't know. You're kind of hamming up your reaction there, Sammy.
That's a wrap.
Bacon wrap.